Between May and June, Twaweza Africa and Food Rights Alliance conducted a study on food security during the lockdown in both rural and urban areas. The biggest question was if people had enough to feed on throughout the lockdown, and the findings are a cause for concern.
Some of the prices of the products that we're getting were high, so we wanted to know what does it look like for the rest of Ugandans.
The study found that 70% of the households in the country were worried they would run out of food. 43% of the 70% were worried about food at least once a week. 27% of Ugandan children were hungry at least once in a month. 13% of children were hungry 5 times or more in a single month. And 6% of the country's children spent a day without having a single meal. According to Mari Nanyanzi of Twaweza Africa, this is worrying.
Yes, definitely it will be a great concern, because if at all children are having less meals than they should, if they are going hungry, they will be malnourished. And in most cases, it's hard to change all that when from a very young age the child grows up stunted. And stuntedness won't only be seen physically, but the mind as well. That child won't have, the mind won't develop as it should have.
When we talk about children, we are talking about the future, because once malnutrition strikes, it's very, very difficult to reverse. When the population had just embraced the lockdown, at least immediately, over 48% of the people had food stocks that could only last them for just a week. And 21% never had any amount of food in stock. So we are looking at food today during the lockdown, but we are looking at food, the physical and invisible hunger in the future to come.
The researchers say the figures speak to a failure to take the issue of food security seriously. Center for Food and Adequate Living Rights, Chefrot, has since taken government to court over what it views as inaction to establish food reserves.
Government has failed or refused to establish these national reserves, and we have gone to court to order government to make sure that it comes up with a mechanism such that no Ugandan dies because of hunger or malnutrition. This is a legal obligation. We are not begging government.
If another pandemic of COVID-19 in nature ever comes back, nobody is going to accept the narration that nobody was ready, that not even government was ready. In the future, agriculture and food must be part and parcel of the disaster response plans of the country.
From the State of the Nation address that was given in June, there were a number of immediate cash releases that the President mentioned that would go into improving the value chain in agriculture. And this was what was mentioned was going all the way to the issues of storage. So if that money is released in time, then it's definitely possible. Agriculture
Minister Vincent Sempija says government has plans to support homesteads and organized farming groups.
Storage at the homestead, but government is also going to support some communities, some cooperatives to have community storage facilities, including dryers at that facility.
Agriculture is often touted as the backbone of Uganda's economy, yet the amount of support given to it does not reflect this. According to the experts, food insecurity will continue in many parts of Uganda until there is commitment at all levels to adequately support the agricultural sector and farming communities. Edward Mhumza, NTV.